Hey there, I'm Carissa from Humbly Homemade, and I share science-backed rustic bread tips and recipes that help bakers understand the why, fix common failures, and create cozy artisan-style bread at home. Let's get started. Have you ever wondered what is the difference between rising and proofing bread dough? Even though I've binged Great British Bake Off more times than I care to admit, I couldn't tell you the difference, so I was determined to find out. And once you understand exactly what's happening in the dough, bread baking stops feeling random and starts making sense. Spoiler alert, they're not interchangeable, and knowing why each one matters can completely change your results. Let's clear something up because the whole rising versus proofing thing trips up so many home bakers. You'll hear recipes say, let it rise. Now proof the dough. Oh, it didn't proof long enough. You've overproofed it. Or Paul Hollywood's catchphrase, you've overproofed and underbaked. I'm so sorry for the British accent there. For me, it started to feel like, what the heck are we even talking about here? Here's a simple way to think about it. Rising dough is all about building gas, while proofing dough is all about managing gas. That means same yeast, I usually use active dry yeast or instant yeast. Same dough, for example, this one is rising right now, but it's gonna proof later because they have two very different functions. All right, now let's get into it. First, let's talk about rising dough. When recipes refer to bread rising, they're talking about fermentation. Yeast is eating sugars in the flour, producing carbon dioxide, that's your lift, flavor compounds, that gives it that nice, bready, rich flavor, and acids. Acids strengthen the dough over time. This dough has been rising for about 2 hours. It's been expanding, developing structure, and becoming more flavorful. Okay, now let's talking about proofing dough, which happens after the dough has been shaped. At this point in a recipe, you're not trying to build tons of new structure. You're trying to prepare the dough for the oven. Proofing is the final resting time before your dough gets baked. It gives us a chance to check, is there enough gas that's trapped inside the dough? And is the dough relaxed but supported? We don't want it collapsed, but we also don't want it too tight. As you can see, the dough that was rising has now been shaped and it's proofing in this banneton or proofing basket. I'm gonna wait until an indentation springs back within 2 to 3 seconds before baking it. Okay, now that we know what rising and proofing dough is, let's take a look at what happens if we try to skip or rush through each of these critical steps. If rising is rushed, then the flavor is not gonna be as developed and you're gonna have kind of a bland flavor. And as far as structure goes, it's gonna be denser and heavier because again, it didn't get that rise. So your bread is gonna be it could be gummy and it could feel really, really heavy. If proofing is rushed, on the other hand, a lot can go wrong with our structure. You could have a tight crumb structure so you won't have that beautiful open airiness, but you could also have blowouts. That tight structure, the steam is trying to get out and it has nowhere to go, and so it's gonna basically have a blowout or a big tear. And you might also have a really poor oven spring or that beautiful rise that you want in your dough. On the flip side, if proofing goes too long, aka overproofing, then your dough will be flat and collapsed. Now, let's take a minute here. Keep in mind, none of these outcomes mean that you're bad at baking. They just mean that the timing for rising or proofing was a little off. So I invite you to approach your bread with this simple question in mind. What is my dough telling me right now? This one shift has helped me slow down and be more mindful in the kitchen and approach baking with creativity, not stress or perfection. That wraps up this video. If you want bread baking to feel less confusing and more intuitive, hit that subscribe button and stick around for more confidence building tips. I'll be tackling more topics in the future, like how to tell when your bread is done rising and proofing in future videos, so stay tuned. See you soon.